All right, sweet. We're live. Welcome again. Thank you, Mike Harris, my homie, co-anchor, right? Co-host. I guess we're here for another show of what did we decide on this? What reboot, reuse, recycle, something like that?
Yeah, reboot, reuse, recycle. We got to keep the world clean.
Yeah, I like it. It's good branding, right?
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I guess today, this week, we're doing the Fly movies.
The
Both of them.
Fly.
Fly,
We could have worked.
1958 and
Mhm.
86.
Those are my two favorite years. Um, we could have also worked in Superfly.
Yeah, that did cross my
That would have
mind.
been the really. That would have been the next level.
I'm sick.
Yeah.
What would Superfly look like in 1958?
I mean, probably like the Fly from the '58 Fly, but with like a really cool hat on.
Yes. What if the Fly has like an afro? That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then you have Curtis Mayfield doing the soundtrack.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Let's talk these flies.
Yes. I guess we'll start in the beginning, 1958.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm assuming there's both a black and white version and color version.
So there's a lot of this is an early Mandela effect thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people seem to remember seeing this film in black and white. The sequel was in black and white.
Gotcha.
But this one was curiously in color. But so I feel like I remember seeing this movie as a kid, and to me, it's very, very much tied to color. The purple of the fly's face, like the red of the blood on the machine when she crushes his head, is so graphic for '58. And I feel like there's a weird, and stop me if you think I'm mistaken here. I feel like there's a crossover connection with the comic book world in the way that this film kind of looks and feels. I feel like even though it's '58, it's we're kind of moving away from this kind of material. It still feels very post-war, very noir. Like the war still hasn't really let go of people's psyches. Like it kind of feels like EC Comics in a way.
Definitely. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great way of describing it, is EC Comics. And even like the setup, it's like this woman, is she crazy? She admitted that she murdered her husband, but she seems kind of out there as well, and you can tell she's hiding something, and is she faking the craziness? What's going on? Finally, they go. It's like they like bookend the movie, kind of with Vincent Price, but then the middle part is like the meal of it. The flashback scene of what actually happened is like the main part of the story, like a comic book kind of. Some I feel like do that. They start with the action scene, then like, oh, how'd I get here? Let's go back to
Yeah, I feel like this is like, and that is such like a noir convention, is like the flashback of the framing device of the investigation. And did this really happen? Like there may be some ambiguity as to whether or not this woman's story holds any water. I was, again, like I haven't seen this movie since I was a little kid, and I definitely did not remember a lot of things about it. I didn't remember the framing structure and how strange so many long passages of this film are. They make this whole stretch about them trying to catch the fly so dramatically tense. We watched two movies last time, Sorcerer and Wages of Fear, that were all about kind of wringing suspense from guys having to drive really slowly. And I feel like you're watching this family, and everyone in the house is like looking for this fly, and they're trying to catch the fly, and they like, oh my god, it's gonna get out. Like it's this little tiny thing that just holds so much dramatic weight. I thought that was an interesting point of connection.
It sucks that they caught the fly twice and it got lit.
I can't believe they pulled that gag twice. There's a lot of weird things about this movie.
Would you think it would have worked if he would have caught the fly and put it back into the machine? It's like, I feel like he would have got mixed up more.
No, there's no way that's how science works.
I think I would have like took it up as a loss, like, oh well, I got a fly head from now on. I can still think for now.
I was reminded a while ago I was listening to an interview with Dan Klaus, and he was talking about how so many of the comic book artists from this vintage were so traumatized by the war, and
Yeah.
it kind of seems to work its way into the material. Like every EC comics it seemed to be about how to murder your wife, or like the mad scientist who's building a ray to like cause people's skin to explode. Even the doctor in this film has a war scar on his leg that the camera lingers on very prominently. That's how they identify the body. It's like, oh, his war trauma is the thing that we can use to ID the corpse. I thought like there's all these like this obsession with the death and the value of life, like flies being this thing that grow on rotting material. And the question of like how long do flies live is posed several times in this film. There seems to be a again coming out of like this war trauma vibe of technological advances at the cost of humanity.
That's my favorite part of it is, she brings up how she feels like technology is going so fast for their time. She's like brought up what like space travel or satellites and I guess speed of light or speed of sound or something like that. And I forget what else she talked about, but it's like all this technology, I guess also with this teleportation of transporting matter, it kind of makes sense in their line of thinking where it's like, well, they have like, you know, radio now and they have television and all these things seem like super impossible back then. And here they are, these magical pieces of technology for people to enjoy. So it's like, what's next? Sure, transportation, and she's like, it's so overwhelming. And then, as growing up as a kid, we had what, like Back to the Future 2 and stuff like that. It's like, oh hell yeah, I want a hoverboard and things like that. I can't wait to get a flying car. We got fucking nothing. It's like technology is going so slow because like capitalism was just crushing, holding back everything from progress. It's just like God, it was the exact opposite back then. It's just like free for all.
If only Elon Musk would watch The Fly, maybe he'd turn into some horrible monster and suddenly Earth would be heaven. I pulled a quote. This is not related to The Fly, but I thought it was relevant. One of my favorite movies is the Italian film La Ventura by Michelangelo Antonioni. And when that movie premiered in 1960, 2 years after The Fly, when it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival, he published this essay in conjunction with it, and I just thought there was a passage that seemed to kind of be relevant, and I thought I could share it on this little stream. Today, the world is endangered by an extremely serious split between a science that is totally and consciously projected into the future and a rigid and stereotyped morality that all of us recognize as such and yet sustain out of cowardice and sheer laziness. For even as we know that the ancient codes of morality are decrepit and no longer tenable, we persist with a sense of perversity that I would only ironically define as pathetic in remaining loyal to them. Thus, moral man, who has no fear of the scientific unknown, is today afraid of the moral unknown. Starting out at this point of fear and frustration, his adventure can only end in a stalemate. And then that kind of lines up with David Hedison, who plays the scientist in the 58 Fly, going, the more I know, the more sure I am that I know so little.
Yeah. Right. That was very existential, like nihilist.
Yes. Can I just want to ask your take on this. What's with the Frenchness of this movie?
The French.
Did you notice everyone has a French last name? Like the detective refers to him as Monsieur. It's supposed to be said in Montreal.
I was thinking, well, is it because was the original short story writer French?
The original short story was supposed to be set in Paris. It was set in Paris. But if you're going to set the film in a different country, why not just make it American?
Right.
So I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point. I'm not sure. I guess the article came out what in a Playboy And
It
it's like,
was
who
in
read
Playboy.
that and decided to, someone actually read Playboy back then. They read it for the articles, you
Yeah.
know.
Um, I feel like there's something about like, oh well, we can't have this be. It's maybe it's too close to America. Like you
Mm.
have Operation Paperclip with all the U.S. government pulling in Nazi scientists to work on government projects. Like this kind of like spooky science mumbo jumbo. Maybe feel if you transport it to the far reaches of Montreal, it seems less critical of what our guys are doing. Maybe.
I mean, I guess like what there's a good French population in Montreal, right? Is that why it's so French?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Quebecois.
In Quebecois. Yeah, that's right.
Um, this was kind of a career jump-starting role for Vincent Price.
Yeah, yeah. I guess this is what technically his second type of horror film. I forget what the first one was, but then after this was The House on Haunted Hill, and then from
Yeah,
then on he was just horrors pretty much.
yeah, he did all those great Corman Edgar Allan Poe adaptations,
Uh,
and but before this, like he was like, I mean, he's like a classically trained Broadway leading man. Like he was in he plays kind of a womanizing ne'er do well in Otto Preminger's Laura,
mm,
and then he kind of segued into this kind of work. And I love that there's a great cut where it's the red of the blood on that machine,
yeah,
and it's the same color as his smoking jacket in the very
very
next
nice.
shot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I did not
That
notice that.
smoking jacket is so tight. The first time, because I forgot Price was in this movie, and then when he comes on wearing that fucking red fit, I mean that's what Superfly would probably wear.
Yes, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, it looks sick. Also, I was pretty surprised by the technology, like the lights of the machines and things like
Oh
that.
yeah,
The set design.
the neon machines.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I do want to give a shout out to the cat, R.I.P. Actually, it's not really technically dead. It's just atomized and floating in space. And
So horrifying. That's probably the most horrifying part is when he hears the cat's atoms
meowing.
screaming across the fucking cosmos. I mean,
There's like a cloud of cat meowing around you.
it's also such a funny. I thought about that too because like that's such a funny inversion of the old Hollywood idiom of like, oh, you got to save the cat if you want a likable protagonist, they have to save the cat, and this guy like atomizes it the first chance he gets. Um, the cat's name was Dandelo. I kept trying to find
Yes,
out like what the origin of
of
that
Dandelion.
was, and
Yeah.
I couldn't find anything. I guess it's a character in a Stephen King story eventually, but
Mhm.
that doesn't help us out for the sake of this.
Yeah.
I also thought about I always try to find things to look at in this, and the painting in his office is a Modigliani painting from 1918, which was 2 years before Modigliani died.
Oh wow.
He had tuberculosis, but he was also a chronic alcoholic and drug addict.
Yeah.
But the director of this picture also died like 5 weeks after it came out.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did hear about that. The only other like small thing I knew about this movie was that the one of the helpers or maids or nannies or what have you was the nun in the Blues Brothers.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, and I want to say she's in Sister Act as well, but
That's amazing. Wait, she's in 2 nun movies?
I think so. I think so. Yeah. I mean, she's definitely in the Blues Brothers, but I think she might be one of the same nuns in Sister Act,
That's
which would be great
amazing.
if she just played nuns from forever. Then, yeah.
I'm looking at my notes right now. I have the words, "You won't feel a thing, Dandelo, and tomorrow you'll be the most famous
This
cat in all
cat.
the world." Oh my god. I think it was interesting. This movie, like, it. No one thought this movie was gonna do anything. I mean, it was a B movie. It was
Mhm.
going to,
The smaller studio, right? It was
it was a Fox subsidiary called
right.
Regal, and they do all the
That's
B
it.
pictures. And then it was released in a double bill with Space Master X7, which is a black and white film about a fungus in outer space.
Hmm.
And they reused the ballet footage is from an Affair to Remember, which came out a year prior. So
That's
like
funny.
they were like, yeah, we'll crank out The Fly, and it was a huge hit. It was like one of Fox's biggest hits that year, and
Yeah.
made Vincent Price's career, and he looked back and was very fond of this picture.
Apparently, the kid, the boy in the film, he had a tragic life. Apparently, I didn't hear much about it. I just hear like I heard a short synopsis, and like they didn't want to go over his tragic life. I was like, oh wow, that's a shame.
He looked
Poor kid.
like a tragic boy. I mean,
Child actors,
his father turned into a fly.
Yeah, that's where it all started from. This Curse of the Fly. Did you watch any of the sequels, Return of the Fly or Curse of the Fly?
I haven't seen either of those. No, I prefer to have my memory of The Fly be this and the Jeff Goldblum version. Although maybe that's a cop out. Maybe we should have included all of the Flies.
I am curious about The Fly too. I didn't see. If you've ever seen that, I never saw it. But I guess apparently the makeup art director guy was the one directing part two.
Oh wow, Chris Wallace.
I think so. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I know that John Getz is the only cast member to come back for the sequel, but there were some really nice artistic moments in the first Fly, like when he's fucking up that lab with that axe. I could watch that Fly guy tear apart shit all day.
Just have it on loop.
Great. I could watch a whole movie of that, or like there's a shot where Vincent Price towards the end kind of looks longingly at like a pile of rotting garbage and all these flies on it. Like, I don't know. I just thought, it's a testament to Vincent Price's craft that he can make watching garbage so compelling.
I love I guess the ending with the little fly human guy yelling, "Help me!"
So they it was Price and oh gosh, what I'm blanking on the other actor's name, but the guy who plays the detective. They couldn't make it through that scene without laughing. So it's really hard to get a take of them when they're like looking at this fly guy being eaten by the spider.
That's great. I hear originally it had a darker ending, and then they wanted to appeal to more audiences and have it have a little somewhat happy cap at the end, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, with a lot of these movies, it's kind of hard to not feel like there is a certain like propagandist element to it. Like when he's like giving the kid a pep talk about like how great a guy his father was. Like, this is the other thing about this movie is like there's no indication that this guy's a good dude. Like he atomized a cat, he turned himself into a monster. There's all these things about like I wrote down a couple of quotes here that I thought like were kind of telling of like when Price is describing the family, he says, "We have more money than we know what to do with," and then he's talking about the couple, and they had no outside interest. It's like, who are these people? These people are freakish. Or like when the detective is first questioning the wife, and this feels like it's straight out of a noir. He asks her, "You were happy with your husband?" And she answers, "Well, he had no mistresses." I'm like, that's not the same thing.
Right. And she's like, "I had no lovers either," or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it does seem to be like there's like this weird morality going on with this family.
And it's like, I guess they have like a government contract or something like that for like these scientific experiments.
Yeah, they're part of like the military industrial complex or something. It's kind of like really fucked up.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think about that. It's funny. Gosh, I'm still just broken how they could have caught the fly twice. The second one got away through a little crack in the window, and once it was in the garden, and once it went outside, I'm like, game over, man. There's no way. How are you getting that? She's like, "Oh, we'll get it tomorrow." I'm like, "No, you're not."
Yeah, what flies is this person dealing with? My goodness.
What fly sticks around, goes outside and inside the same one like for days? No.
The last line of the movie was, "The search for the truth is the most important work in the whole world and the most dangerous."
Yeah.
I don't know if this was really that important.
Right. I mean, I guess according to Jeff Goldblum, it was the most important invention of all of mankind. being able to teleport and transport, whether it be people or things. Um, yeah, it's a game changer for sure. But I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
think
guess it changed that guy's life, but not really for the better.
right.
Um, should we talk about
Yeah,
the 86
yeah. Let's transition
fly?
over to 86. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the hot take there?
I guess that's my first time seeing a Cronenberg film. His reputation preceded him. I knew what to expect ahead of time, but um, yeah, I honestly thought it'd be a little more brutal than it was, even though it was quite uh, spectacular with the special effects and makeup and gruesomeness. But for some reason I thought it would be worse. But yeah, it did some amazing things with that puppeteering and makeup and stuff. I just love the part where at the end when he's transforming into the fly, how his face just like melts off and
Oof,
squishes, his eyeball squishes out, and his
gross,
face just
so
starts falling off
gross.
in chunks. Oh, so cool! That was just amazing. Just I can't even imagine the time and care that went into that to make that happen. Um, yeah, it was amazing. But and then I got to watch this one like deleted scene. I guess it was
Or
prior. It was like right before that scene. Where because I was wondering like what happened to the second baboon, and apparently he that's where he transported it and mixed it with a cat. I guess apparently that
yeah,
he got found or something, that he found a cat, and try to I guess splice them together into the third pod. And I guess I can understand why they cut the scene. It makes him a little less likable. I mean, not that he's the most likable guy, or I
mhm,
guess I feel less sympathetic towards him because you have to kill the baboon cat hybrid creature. And
mhm.
then also kind of he knows what's going to happen, and it like takes away the I guess his end goal of that surprise of using the same trick with that, combining him and Gina Davis and the baby into one happy family single creature. Which is absolutely crazy. But it was fun. For me, I think the part where they could have just improved on is maybe give him more detail into the backstory of his family life. Maybe go into how like he was maybe an only child and he always wanted a family or something like that. Because it seems out of nowhere he kind of just really cares about this family and child and stuff. And I guess it goes into like where he was kind of a hermit. He's always by himself all the time, and he finally connects with someone. But I really wish they would have had more of that family aspect earlier on to see why he wanted it so bad towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, I hadn't seen this one in a long time. I'd seen it more recently um since I'd seen the first fly as a child, but I was struck almost immediately how off-putting Goldblum is as a presence on screen. He's not charming.
Right.
He's very kind of edgy. He's brittle in this way. And I was reading that there is a contingency of film critics and fans that uh, say that his character seems to display traits of like either undiagnosed or an unstated diagnosis of autism,
Hmm.
because he does seem to have issues with small talk, but seems to speak very eloquently about things he's passionate about. He wears the same thing over and over again. He goes to the same restaurants. There's this idea of like repetition and routine being super super important to him. But I don't know if that was intentional for either Cronenberg or for Goldblum. I do know that like Cronenberg wanted it to, as the film progresses, wanted it to feel like someone dealing with a terminal illness, and maybe that's where
Yeah, I heard
the
Cronenberg had a friend with cancer around that time, and that was a huge kind of inspiration for the deterioration of the man.
Mhm. Yeah. And I feel like with some people that are terminally ill, like goals change. In the beginning of this movie, this guy wanted to be on the cover of Time magazine, and by the end of it, all he wants is a family. And so you can see it as kind of an extension of that kind of perspective change
Yeah, yeah,
when someone's sort of in end of life mode.
yeah, for sure.
Um,
Yeah, it was interesting to see his change in development, and same thing with the her boss, that guy. How
this,
he
this movie's obsessed with transformations, like the way this guy's such a scumbag in the beginning, and he kind of is the hero at the end. It's really
right.
wild.
Yes, I loved how his hand and ankle got melted off. That was
Yeah,
just incredible.
this, this and Hellraiser are some of the two, and I would say this Hellraiser and like The Thing are maybe like the holy trinity of like great goo acting in movies.
Yes, yes.
Um, this is also, I feel like this film confirms that The Fly is strictly a Canadian property.
Is that what they're in a Canada town as well?
Yeah, this was filmed in Toronto because
Okay,
Cronenberg is a Canadian filmmaker, and even though these are
gotcha.
American actors, they all
Mhm.
came to Toronto to make this picture.
The Fly is
Uh,
officially Canadian.
the
Got it.
Fly is officially Canadian. Um, I mean, what I feel like if the 50s Fly is still very much is so indicative of 50s culture, and this one in many ways is very indicative of 80s culture. There's certain yuppie elements on the fringes of things. It's a lot of people read the Fly transformation as an AIDS metaphor.
Mm,
Um, when Goldblum first transforms, and there's that scene where he's at the coffee shop and he's pouring sugar into his coffee and talking, a mile a minute. He was trying to create the effect of someone on cocaine.
yeah.
Cocaine is a very 80s drug. Um, and I feel like there's something about The Fly that makes it a cultural barometer moment
Yeah, yeah.
every time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of like the current scene of what's going on. It's definitely in movies of their time. If you were to see like a new Fly movie come out, what would you think that would look like? And, for me, I think it would kind of like be a bummer because I don't think they'd probably use computer graphics technology, for the
Mhm.
creature and stuff, which is not as good. It's so fun seeing the live action, kind of actual makeup and stuff, the prosthetics and things like that's kind of the appeal of it. I don't know. I feel like it has a reputation of that. I think a lot of people would be disappointed if they were to make just a digitally graphic monster.
Well, yeah, what would the 2021, 2022 Fly even be like? Because I mean, you have to examine like the motivation for why someone becomes a fly.
Because I think like the '80s ones too. You got computers are kind of like a new thing. They're working
Hmm.
on that, and what computers can do, computers and translating what they think is a stake. The computers interpretation. Computers are dumb. They just do what they tell you to.
That was a
Do what
great line.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
such a good fucking line.
yeah. Like,
That was up there. And my other favorite line is when he meets the girl in the bar and she goes, "Are you a bodybuilder?" And he goes, "Yeah, I build bodies." It's like, damn, that's smooth.
I think my favorite line in the whole entire movie was when Gina Davis is refusing to go into the machine, and he's like, "God, you're such a fucking bummer," or like a letdown, or
Yeah, you're a
I forgot what it
drag.
was. You're drag. That's what it was. Thank you.
You're a
I
fucking
was saying it in my
drag.
head all day. Yes, you're just a fucking drag. Oh, I laughed so hard at that. Oh,
No, he's
so good.
great. He's really good in this movie, man. I mean, he really leans into it in a way that like the world really does need Jeff Goldblum.
That was fantastic. I guess when I guess go back to what you think a new one would look like. Do you have an answer for that?
I feel like, well, one thing we don't see in either of these movies, we don't see the Fly actually fly.
Sure.
And if
Yeah.
there if there was
Crawl.
a if there was a new Fly movie, I would want to see that fucker soaring across
Good call.
the skyline.
Yes, absolutely. I think the like busting up skin out the back with wings popping out and stuff, that'd be really great. Then to start flapping and hovering.
He
Yes.
he he but then he becomes like a hero fly, like he prevents the next 9/11 from happening. And everyone
Yeah,
cheers for the Fly.
he's
And
the
then he
hero.
starts he starts vomiting over everything and it becomes a nightmare.
Is he gonna become like a new Marvel superhero? He's just the fly and just taking
Yeah,
on everything and yeah.
that's a great superpower.
Yeah, he's just
Where is the Fly in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I mean,
bring
I
it.
guess he probably has to fight Spider-Man.
Wow, yeah, you're right. He would get caught in the web for sure. Um, I Yeah, gosh, I'm trying to think what the situation would be for a new one. I can't get it out of my mind of just the possibility of that happening.
I mean,
Um,
I'm sure it's going to happen eventually. Eventually, they got to cycle back and do this IP. I mean, that's
yeah,
kind of like the whole point of
correct.
this stream is to direct the Hollywood powers that be to existing IPs. Like, hey, this has already been redone. You can redo it once more.
Yeah, because I feel like that mysticism behind computers and stuff that's done. I guess technology is I feel like not going at such a fast pace like that. I mean, I'm sure it is, but it's more like in different ways, not as it was in the 50s.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, well, we can move on from that. I also wanted to give a shout out to our sponsor on Famra. It did crash on us there, unfortunately, but thank you
Oh
to
no!
our sponsors on Famra. So we'll have to get more people in there next time. If you want to check out the app, it's free in the iTunes store, and use the code Amethyst Goat to get in. But so I'm going to exit out of Famra. Thank you those on Famra for joining us, and we're going to continue this here on YouTube until a little bit longer.
Yeah,
But,
let's keep it going.
yes, absolutely. Any more things you want to say about the 85
I thought it
version?
was a great score by Howard Shore. And
Yeah.
again, he went on to do the Lord of the Rings soundtracks.
Oh wow.
I mean, God, there's so much you could really say about this, and I love, Cronenberg tends to use a lot of the same people, like the um, the doctor that they go to in the middle of the night for an abortion. He's in Videodrome. Cronenberg himself is the gynecologist in the
Oh, that's
operating
funny.
dream with the fucking maggot baby, which is
Yeah.
such a good.
I
Where's
think
that prop?
who has that now? Who has that giant worm prop? The giant maggot. Yeah, that's brilliant. The whole entire thing too about like abortion in this movie and like women's choice and like respectability and livelihood. Like, geez, there's a lot of commentary on that. Like, even when she was like, can you take me to the clinic or whatever, and he's like, I don't know if I can schedule that tonight or whatever. It's like, really? It's like you're relying on this guy to schedule it for you. It's like because she has no rights. It's like God.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's also, I feel like both of these films do they do offer a form of commentary on gender relations in that regard. I mean, the wife, Patricia Owens, in the first Flies, is so um, subservient to her husband.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything he says, she basically does.
right.
She was also terrified of insects in real life, and so when they do
Oh
the reveal, that was an earnest scream.
God, that was such a good scream. That's like
That was
one
a
of the
great
top
scream. No,
like
no, no.
yeah top scream up there, man. That was
Yeah.
so good. I had to like turn down the TV because it was like I was watching it at like 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was amazing. I did not expect to hear that scream come out of her.
But I mean,
Um,
you're not wrong. I mean, there is something interesting going on with the depiction of women in both of these films. I mean, they both seem to offer some sort of critique or commentary on what is and isn't accessible to women at these times.
yeah, and I guess even how just men even treat women. At beginning with her scumbag boss boyfriend, kind of, like the way he's just like talking to her the whole entire time. Yeah, and she's just kind of putting up with it, and I guess finally actually standing up to him. She has a. It's not like she doesn't have a backbone, but it's like
No.
to be treated and talked to like that still is really disrespectful. But it's like
Yeah.
nothing of it. Because that's
And
how he's a guy and that's how things are.
once, I think it's very smart because they were Gina Davis and Goldblum were dating. They were an item at the
Oh,
time
cool.
of making this film, and I do feel like that gives their scenes a little extra chemistry. Like
Yeah.
there's a sweetness,
Mhm.
and like once he starts acting like an asshole to her, it's like, oh, they're like things change. Like and even though he becomes this monster, like you do feel for this guy in a fucked up way.
Yeah.
As you watch this fella who is so high crash so fucking hard. And then when he comes out of the thing at the end, and it's not even, he's like, he's part of the machine. There's like fucking
Parts of it
cords
sticking
coming out of his goo and shit. It's like it's like, oh my god, like those eyes are. And I was reading that Cronenberg would give Chris Wallace these very kind of like poetic direction for the creature effects. He's like, I want it to move with more pain, or I want to see more confusion in its eyes, rather than like, oh, I want it to be red or I want it to be green.
Yeah. For me at first, like when I first saw that last iteration of the creature, I was a little confused because I had, parts of the machine sticking out. I'm like, well, the machine doesn't have DNA, but like if you rewind it and you see like the machine transport him, part of the machine that he's in like breaks and busts out like around it where he was standing. So it's just like embedded into him from it, it's like a teleporter getting cut off, and it takes whatever it's with it. Yeah. And then it was really cool too how he wanted her to kill him. He like gets the gun and like puts it to his head. He's still conscious of what's going on, and I'm sure he's in tremendous pain with that machine sticking out of him. Yeah, that was just really incredible stuff there. I do love his little artifacts that he kept in the mirror.
Oh
of
yeah,
himself,
this cabinet of
ears and teeth
curiosities.
It's like, you want to see him? She's like, no.
I mean, yeah, he's so good. Like, even though he has like, pounds of prosthetics all over him, it still feels like Goldblum. Like he's still doing the twitchy thing. The teeth.
Teeth falling out, the fingernails falling off.
And I feel like there is something about like what you were talking about before, like there is a kind of like a Cronenbergian trope of like the character without a past, or this kind of like there is like this kind of like coldness to reality and the people at first, and like I kind of felt that tension at the beginning until that first monkey transport, when you see that inverted ape.
Yeah, that was really sad, and I guess he took it hard too. And I'm not sure if he felt bad for doing it or felt bad because it failed. Did he actually feel sorry for the creature, or like was he just mad at himself for messing up?
There was also a note where she asks him, "Do you ever change your clothes?" And that's a part. That's a part that it plays into his character, but it's also, I feel like, it's a sly nod to the original, because the scientist is always in the same wardrobe the entire time.
And just for me, I just immediately thought of like Simpsons or Family Guy, where they open the closet and the gag of just the same clothes,
Yeah, exactly. It's basically The Fly is basically a Family Guy movie.
Yeah,
I think this is also how we would do the 2021, 2022. The Fly is there would be like Family Guy style editing and musical numbers and shit.
Wow, yeah.
Seth MacFarlane's The Fly is basically what it levels up to.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's funny how you mentioned how the first one with the how it had the play that they went to. And I was like, wow, I'm like, this scene looks really good. It's like
it's from another movie.
Yeah, it's from a different movie. I'm like, wow, they spent a lot of money on this one shot. It's incredible. That's where all the budget went. It's like, nope, it's already taken from something else.
Yeah, they shot the original Fly was shot in 18 days. I don't know how long it was to shoot this one. I know that the VFX team did not have a lot of time. I think they had like 3 months total to get all of their stuff together, and Chris Wallace was very upset about they shot the cat ape creature at the end of a long day, and he felt like they never really nailed it the way that he wanted it to.
Yeah. I guess apparently they mainly pulled it because they liked the creature at the end, the hybrid, but they thought it was too ugly, apparently, because it was so ugly that it was silly. Like they would laugh at it, and so it was just like too goofy, I guess. And they just like yeah, just not have that in there. It was funny when it scooted across the floor. It's just like this little like roadkill kind of stiff movement,
Yeah, I mean, there is a limit to what even practical effects can do.
I really love the teleportation machines in both films, but the one in the Jeff Goldblum one, it was just really cool. I remember seeing those as a kid, like just in trailers or on the movie poster, and it's so
Hmm.
intriguing. Just the design on that. It's very like shoot the guy from Aliens.
H.R. Geiger.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
Geiger like that. The design of those machines. Just I guess all the rivets in it. Um, Very cool. I could look at this forever. I
Oh
think I saw.
yeah.
I feel like I might have saw one like on eBay or something at one time at one point.
It's not too late.
Yeah, gotta have it.
Um, her reaction to when she didn't know his ear was going to fall off. And so again, it's like these
While
natural
shooting, she didn't
reactions.
know that it just
Yeah,
fell off.
yeah, yeah. So I like that. Also, just like his vibe when he goes into the bar shirtless and breaks that dude's arm, and then leaves with the chick. It's just like, oh my god, like this guy's insane.
I like when he puked for the first time. It's like he's comes out. He's like
Oh, that's
gross.
disgusting.
Yeah, oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, so fun, man. Yeah, I just really enjoyed both films. I guess you don't want to give any closing thoughts, I guess, to the films or any last.
I think. Well, I think one thing that it is an interesting thing about the Fly is it was produced by Mel Brooks. So the '80s one was a Mel Brooks production,
Oh, okay.
and he also did the Elephant Man. These are two serious films
Wow.
that he produced in the '80s that he kind of downplayed his involvement in, and both films kind of deal with tragically deformed protagonists.
I guess people always talk about how I guess the short story was also maybe influenced by Kafka Metamorphosis.
Mhm.
I guess maybe some themes in there were probably similar or parallel as well.
Well, he at one point he quotes that story. I'm blanking on the author's name, but it's like the dream of the butterfly,
Mm-hmm.
which but when he frames it in the Fly, it does have this kind of like Kafkaesque vibe. And both I know that both Lynch and Cronenberg, both of the Davids, are
Mm-hmm.
big Kafka fans. Lynch in the 70s, when he was at the American Film Institute, before he did Eraserhead, he was going to do a film called Garden Back that was a similar story of a romance that never takes off because a guy is turning into a bug, or he's growing a bug in his house.
Oh, so okay, so that's like Metamorphosis then, and like pretty much where it's just
Yeah,
a guy in bed turned into a bug, and he just stays there and
yeah,
waits for everyone to forget about him.
yeah. But the American Film Institute read that script and they're like, this is too weird for us. So
I
then
don't
he did
understand that.
Eraserhead.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's that's so strange for like an institute like that of just prestigious level, and to I guess put a cap on people's creativity, like that, because it's like you're an art thing, it's like you should let people be going wild. I don't understand why.
You gotta let the Davids be David.
Yeah,
That's
let
the
the
bottom
Davis David.
line.
Yeah, definitely. um, didn't Cronenberg's son do something recently this past year?
He did. He did. I believe it was called Possessor, which I didn't
That sounds
see.
right. Yeah, yeah. Did you
Did you?
see it?
I didn't catch that
Okay, me
picture,
either. No, me either.
but I'm still playing catch up these days.
Hmm.
How about do you have any final ruminations, thoughts about the Flies?
First time experiencing them, both of them. This is a great thing you're doing for me, teaching me about films and experiencing me to so many more things that I've always wanted to be open to. Uh, and Yeah, they're both great in their own right. I think a lot of people just mainly know the Cronenberg one, and they downplay the original or the '58 one for schlockiness and B film silliness. And I think it deserves way more respect and
Yeah,
notoriety.
I was really surprised. I found the 58 one really compelling
Mhm.
in its own way, and really, idiosyncratic and dark and just strange, especially by 1958 standards.
Yeah, I think one of the posters said it's like the first nuclear creature or something like that in a film ever, or something like it was some strange quote. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, hold on, I think I might have the poster somewhere in my camera roll. Oh, yeah, it is says the first time atomic mutation on humans has been shown on the screen! Exclamation mark. um,
That's great. You
yeah.
know, so I do know that um, Jeff Goldblum wrote Vincent Price a letter of appreciation in
Oh wow.
anticipation of doing this picture, and I think Price reciprocated in kind. And
Hmm.
however, he did say he described The Fly as a wonderful picture up until a certain point. I think it went a little bit too far for old Vincent, which is I feel like what you want. If
Yeah,
you
yeah.
make a movie that grosses out or scares Vincent Price, you've done your job.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like even going to his character that he played. It's asking again, what is his family about? You know, because he is also, I guess, the co-owner of the business or something like that, or the factory or something. And he also had, he loved the guy's wife, his brother's wife, but never said anything and made a
Yes.
move.
What
It's
is this family?
so strange.
There's a
Um,
joke about a nuclear family in here.
yeah, yeah. I think there's a comic coming up. I forgot where I heard this, but it's like there's some kind of big catastrophic event. I think it might be like a nuclear attack or something like that. And for some reason, all the kids that hid under the desk, for whatever reason, lived, and everyone else like this got annihilated and destroyed. And they're trying to figure out why. I like what's going on. and,
Wow.
and I thought this was like such a fun premise.
Do they become like child desk
That'd be cool.
monsters?
Like hybrids, yeah, just walking
Yeah,
desks.
like four-legged, like
Melted,
like
they're melted on their backs, just like
yeah,
yeah.
like a turtle shell, like that weird L shape.
Oh yes, I love
Do,
that.
do kids still have those kind of shaped desks in schools
I
these
don't think
days?
so. I think they're like the small ass ones where it's like with steel frame, but the type and they like had it going sideways. I don't know. I don't think so.
Oh my god. The evolution of school desks is a dark. I feel
I,
like it's like there's like a Cronenberg fly machine that like is like transforming desks
that's
throughout
like
time.
pure absurdism too. It's like you got to think of like why first the company that makes that desk, all right, and then they have like they hire people to make these designs for a desk, and then it's like they have all these ones to pick from. They choose this one to make, and then this school happens to buy that design, and but it's like you can even go further than that. It's like who started that company? Where they come from? Who decided to buy that property there in that building? Like what was that
Yeah,
building before?
it all levels up. Yeah, we're like the Hardy Boys, like, and we investigate this mystery that leads us to this big factory where there's this government facility and they're manufacturing these school desks, but they're also manufacturing these matter transport machines, and they get the they get the boxes, the labels switched on the crates, and then all of a sudden the kids are turning into desks, and the desks are turning into flies, and
I do want to tell this one little small story of when I was in middle school. We had one of those teachers we had who was one of those teachers that weren't there very often, but she just everyone hated her. She was the worst and really mean and stuff and yelling. And uh, we thought that she wasn't very smart, and I think she was just too old to be teaching, and just she needs not to need to be there. And our desk had these little like cage underneath them to put your books in, and there was kind of like a little like metal type stuff. I think they had like a little plastic film on the outside, and people would like lick their fingers and rub it on the side, and the vibrations would start making this humming loud noise,
whoa.
and so everyone started doing that like rhythmically, and the teacher was like wondering where it was coming from, and we're like, oh yeah, it's the band, they're playing next door, the band is like too loud. And so she starts calling the office saying the band is too loud. There's no band in school. There's no band class in the school. And so the other teachers and like the principal and everyone, people that like start thinking that she's like crazy. And it's all because like us kids are just fucking with her.
That's
But
so good.
yeah, I think eventually she did quit, but
You drove her insane. This is
yes,
like an Edgar Allan Poe story, like the
yeah,
Telltale Band or
she
something
just
like
went
that.
insane. Yeah, it's Telltale Band. Yeah, it's like there was no band at the school.
That's so good. One of my favorite cinematic experiences was when There Will Be Not There Will Be Blood. Sorry, when No Country for Old Men came out.
Okay.
I went and I saw it in a theater, and when I was living in Northern California at the time, it was a tiny little theater with nothing, just the paper thin walls. And if you remember, like that, there's gunshots in that movie, but it's a very quiet film for the most part. A lot of long stretches of silence. And as I was watching No Country for Old Men, I was sitting there in the dark silence, and I thought I could hear the sound of men screaming very quietly on the soundtrack. And I thought, oh my God, like the Coen brothers are geniuses. They've worked this into the sound design. Like it's the subliminal.
That's the theater next door.
They were playing the 3D Beowulf movie next door.
You're like, God, genius move.
I was like, God damn, these guys are brilliant. How'd they come up with this shit?
That's fantastic. Now that's a future idea, for a
yeah,
future
I know.
soundtrack.
I've been sitting on that for a while.
I love that. This kind of reminds me of like this. Mentioning soundtracks. This one of my favorite themes, I guess, is the one to the Devil Rides Out. Just the opening song there is like probably one of my favorite like songs of all time. I forgot the guy who produced it too, but this one band I saw came out to that, and I was like, it was just like the coolest thing ever. Because
Wow.
it's such a good throwback, and I feel like no one else knew it except for me and the band. It's like, yes, that's the Devil Rides Out.
Hell yeah. If you had to choose one fly to save from the fire, which fly would you choose? 58 or 86?
It's got to be 86.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for its grotesqueness,
Mhm.
and I think both can be timeless in their own way. I think that they both are definitely set pieces of the time, but I think they still have that lining of just a certain theme or message that could live on forever.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just God, I really enjoyed both. That is a hard decision, but I'm not even sure which one I would recommend to my wife to see first or at all. Would the first one or the new one? I don't know, man. What do you think?
I want to say 58, but it's probably 86. But
Mhm.
the decision would haunt me for the rest of my
Sure.
life.
Yeah, if one
Uh,
just gets forgotten, destroyed forever.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would if you were to put the 1986 fly
Mhm.
and the 1958 fly in a matter transport
I was
machine
gonna say, yeah.
together, and they can make one movie? That's
Yeah.
what you want. I mean,
Yes. Yeah, the year 58, 84.
you still have Vincent Price, but everything's really goopy and gross.
Yeah, he talks like Goldblum.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, I guess
Or Goldblum's face melts off and it's Vincent Price underneath.
oh, that'd be incredible. I do like the idea though of that, like maybe transforming into the DNA sequenced hybrid of human and a fly, the Goldblum one that looks more like a shrimp, but then it
Yeah,
takes the extra evolution step and turns into the actual fly from the 58. That's a full body transformation. He's like actually finally a fly, and we get to see it fly finally.
finally.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, please let's see the
Please,
fly, not just crawl.
Seth MacFarlane, if you're watching this.
Who would you cast for a new fly?
Oh my God. I mean, don't you want to see The Rock?
And everything, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
why
just
not?
don't you want to
Sure.
see The Rock fly?
And
Like,
look ugly and gross.
yeah,
Yeah,
with the bugging
just
eyes out, and like, I don't know. I feel like The Rock with
that'd be scary. He's so huge. Yeah, that'd be a monster.
like a really buff fly would be scary.
That'd be terrifying. And if it flew too, like
Yeah, like
just the
the
wings
U.S.
breaking out of the
military
back.
would have to just wave a white flag and be like, "Oh, we're done."
That'd be cool if if like he didn't die, he just, evolved into this creature and escaped. And it's like,
Well,
what happens?
well, remember there is that weird sequence where Goldblum talks about like, "I want to be the first insect politician." What if the rock fly becomes president in the end?
Yes, I love it.
There we
Yeah,
go.
people, or he just is so powerful, and he starts, overthrowing governments and things like that, and people can't control him. He's like, he's just, I'm president now. People are like, okay, all hell fly president.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
The end credits roll over
Mhm.
a dubstep remix of "Hail to the Chief" or something.
Perfect for modern audiences. I mean,
Yeah.
how else, how other modern can you get? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we have the computer graphic introductions of like just it going through random shit, like maybe the wiring of the transportation machines of the opening credits? You know, it says like directed by this and more wiring. It gives them this name and more wiring.
We can have whatever you want. That sounds
Okay.
great.
Yeah. That's a pure like 2000s era. I feel like the computer graphic openings, opening credit scenes.
There's a really good one in the 1997 adaptation of the Spawn comics where it's going through hell and it's like
Oh, sweet.
a fire. It's the classic wormhole
Yes.
CGI, but it's the
Yes.
flame wormhole.
Yeah.
And I
That's
just
great.
remember there's a really like when Todd McFarlane's name comes up on the screen, there's like a really kind of like theatrical Todd burning.
I it's like a corn 420 fire, text to meme.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what? I would watch a Corn Fan 420 directed Spawn reboot.
oh yeah, for
That would be
sure,
great.
absolutely. Shit, I forget what I was gonna say. Oh man, it definitely had to do with this. Oh, I one of my old hobbies, I guess, like a couple years ago, was like not not really a hobby, but like I was trying to watch the Spawn animated series, and
It's good.
I would get like really high beforehand, so I'd forget every episode and what happened beforehand. But I love how the introduction was always like Todd McFarlane, like the Crypt Keeper. He just turns around in his chair. He's like, "Let me tell you a story here, kids, about Spawn here, and you just gotta fight the law sometimes."
I like the HBO animated series. I
Yeah,
remember that
yeah.
being very, very good.
Apparently, they're making
Todd McFarlane has a good web presence.
yes.
He I don't know if he still does, but he used to teach or used to give like little drawing tutorials on
Mm.
his Facebook page. I know he's collaborating with Steve Aoki, one of my
Wow.
old collaborators, on an
Oh, snap.
NFT series, and the
Wow.
image was Spawn with like the long Steve Aoki hair.
Wow, that's ridiculous. Yeah, I was thinking how I guess they're making a show of the detectives from the Spawn comic.
Sam and Twitch.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I like just the ideas of following detectives and seeing things from their point of view in general.
Hmm.
I guess apparently they're making like a Gotham cop show coming up for like Batman stuff, and that'd be
Okay.
kind of fun. Where if you just see just the detective's point of view and maybe just talks about Batman but never show Batman, or maybe you see him like fly by real quick and that's it. I'd
Well,
be down for that.
who
Absolutely.
was I know that he has a big role in the Batman animated series, but who what was the detective in in the Batman world? He was
Slam
kind of like
Bradley,
what's that?
Slam Bradley,
No, it was
like Detective
he,
Gordon.
no, it wasn't Gordon. He was kind of a more morally ambiguous character in the animated series. I feel like he always had like a toothpick or a
Yeah,
cigarette or something.
the fat dude.
The fat dude, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why his
Was,
name's this guy.
was
Just
it Bullock? I want
Bullock.
to say,
Yeah,
yeah,
thank you. It's Bullock.
Bullock.
Yeah,
Bullock was always a compelling figure.
yeah. Bullock's cool. Yeah, for sure. And God, the name just escaped me too. The female cop and detective as well, and she was in the animated show as well. She, I guess, in the comics became the Question, which is, I guess, the second question. Um, Montoya, yeah, Montoya is
Oh,
something
right.
Montoya. Yeah, but anyways, I guess we'll wrap up. Mike, thank you so much again for talking about The Fly in our new series, Reboot, Remake, Recycle. We have one other one before Sorcerer, and what was the first one?
The first one was The Wicker Man.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. The Wicker Man. That is only on was only on camera. I do have it recorded. I think. I'm pretty sure I do. Actually,
Mhm.
I'll have to get back to you on that. But did we do that one on YouTube? I don't think we
No,
did.
that one was only Famera.
Yes, but I might have it recorded somewhere. So maybe we'll post up the lost episode sometime. I should have did that last week, so we could have been uh, continuous there on the streak. But I'm sorry, but the last one we did was this Sorcerer, and what was the movie
Wages
that?
of Fear.
Thank you, Wages of Fear. Yeah, so fun stuff. Not sure what it's going to be next week. We'll find out soon, I'm sure. But catch us probably again next Wednesday. It's a good day, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you again, Mike, and thank you to our sponsors at Famra. Check out the Famra app. It's like camera, but with an F in the beginning. It's free to download. Use the code AmethystGoat, all one word, no spaces, to get in and check it out. And you can see us streaming there as well as here on YouTube. So thank you so much, Mike, and everyone watching. So we'll see y'all later.
Thank you, Jason. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.